Hey everybody, it's Glenn back with another Clash Royale analysis video. Let's take a look at the AMG Cup Top 8 Grand Finals featuring Jupiter King and Samuel Bassoto. Game 1 of this series was just absolutely nuts. We have a Ram Rider versus RG deck, and the way these guys play defense it was just something else. So we're going to go through it right here. We have not much going on in the beginning. We just have a bandit and we have fisherman. Fisherman has been really, just unbelievable. Probably one of the best legendaries. I'd say it probably is the best legendary right now. So Skeleton Dragons comes in and gets hard countered by a fireball. Nothing doing in the beginning. I think both players are just trying to understand exactly who's doing what and when the big swingers are going to be coming out. So for now, Jupiter King can just keep running, cycling back to Fisherman until it's time to bring in whatever the big hitter is. You have a bandit, and now we see Samuel bring out Inferno Dragon. So it's starting to get a little bit more serious. RG gets placed on the left side. And we have a Ram Rider who stops RG, but it's still walking forward, and then it gets 4 shots on the tower. Meanwhile, Ram Rider does get some shots on the tower over at the top. Well, let's rewind that because that was pretty wild. It turns out that Samuel doesn't have any buildings in his deck. But that's okay because Ram Rider essentially acts as the one who can stop targets from going to the Princess Tower. It just so happened that the Ram Rider just came up short. Like you see how Ram Rider stops RG right here. But the way the animation is that RG is still able to walk very slowly toward a target. And so if RG had just like stopped entirely, wasn't able to move, like it was like a freeze type of thing, then I think perhaps this is a little bit different. But because it was still able to walk a little bit forward, then it ends up getting to its position and then doing 4 shots on the tower. So Samuel had the right idea. I mean, I would say this is about as perfect as you can play it. I mean, Samuel did have 9 elixir to do Ram Rider and shoot the fireball. Perhaps he goes in with Ram Rider a little bit earlier to stop the RG. But I still think this was fine. I still think it was okay to go with Ram Rider in this position right here. So now let's just follow Ram Rider up to the top. That Barb Barrel played out really well because the Fisherman came in, and the Fisherman was really going to target the Ram Rider. Instead, reels in the Barbarian and not the Ram Rider. So Ram Rider was able to have a bunch of fun times on the tower. And Samuel kind of senses he's going for it right here. I loved this play. It didn't work out, but I loved the aggressiveness. Because we see a lot of these pros who will just kind of sit back after a big push and a big counter push and then just wait until there's both players have 10 elixir and then go for it again. But we didn't see that here. So here comes RG, and this time Ram Rider was able to get the stop here with Inferno Dragon. See the difference here? Is that once RG gets played, gets to the tower, now Ram Rider comes up and plays it a little bit closer up front. We saw Samuel play Ram Rider a little bit back over here instead of up front right here, and this stops the RG from getting to the tower. And thanks to Inferno Dragon, never had a chance. That's really good. And now it looks like our Ram Rider is going to get to the tower. It does barely. Fisherman does as much as possible. And now here comes the counter RG. 2 shots on the tower, and now we're essentially even. Fisherman comes in. That's a really close fisherman, but it's swarmed, so it won't be able to do much because now we have an Inferno Dragon that's constantly on the battlefield. And so now it's up to Jupiter King to figure this out. He gets a hunter down that stops that Ram Rider. This is really, this is unbelievable. If you let that Inferno Dragon go, obviously it's going to take down the tower. So that's why you have that Heal Spirit that comes in just temporarily, and they can bring in Skeleton Dragons. That'll stop that, and then you have Hunter who stops that Ram Rider. This is fantastic play by Jupiter King to stop this attack, because if Ram Rider charges the Princess Tower, it's over. And he knows this is pretty much next hit wins, essentially. So we see Samuel bring out Magic Archer to stop the Skeleton Dragons, and that gets hard countered as well. And it was just unfortunate positioning because that Fireball also gets the Princess Tower. Hunter is free to do damage, but thankfully that barrel comes in at the last second for Samuel to stop that. Skeleton Dragons comes in, and here comes the push. This is really interesting because right here, the Skeleton Dragons get in front of RG, which is what Jupiter King wants. You know, if you're going to have that Inferno Dragon, try to take out RG. You got to have something blocking for it. And here comes a Ram Rider that stops RG just enough. I can't believe this. This was incredible. And then the Ram Rider, I'm going to rewind that here because let's follow the Ram Rider all the way to the top, and it looks like Ram Rider is going to get to the finish line because you have the Barbarian right here that's looking at the Fisherman right here. It looks like Fisherman's going to pull the Barbarian, but this log saves the day, and everybody takes care of the Barbarian, and then just enough for that Fisherman pull. Ram Rider still gets something on the tower. I thought the game was over at this point. There were like several times I thought this game was over and Samuel was going to win it with the Ram Rider. But that's not the case. Here comes Skeleton Dragons, and Inferno Dragon has to stop them. And Fisherman from hooking onto the tower. And Samuel goes for it with Ram Rider again. Hunter tries to stop that, and Fisherman just pulls them in with Skeleton Dragons. I could not believe this. So let's rewind that back. So Inferno Dragon and Skeleton Dragons meet. They have to stop each other, or else this game is over. I thought this was interesting that the Ram Rider was placed right here with Lumberjack right here, because if I saw that correctly, I thought that Hunter did get down first. Yeah, so Hunter got down first. So I would have thought that Samuel would have played Ram Rider here on the right and Lumberjack here, because if Hunter's gonna blast somebody, it's either gonna be Inferno Dragon right here or the Lumberjack right here, which would have been targeted. But that Ram Rider hopped over, gets hit by Fisherman. There goes Hunter, and I couldn't believe it. This is over. And then this was a really nice play by Samuel to try to sneak in some geometry with Magic Archer. Couldn't. He got one shot on the tower, and it's down to 173 health. I thought, well, 2 shots, and that would be over because you have Fireball, right? Here comes RG. One more push. Lumberjack, Fireball, and looks like that's about it. So, why not Fireball? Then we're going to have to rewind pretty much a long ways here before. So, you have to try to find the last time Fireball was actually used in this game. So, if we go here, I think it was right here. Yeah, so we have RG comes in, Fireball counters everything, counters Skeleton Dragons, and clears the board. Okay, so Bandit is, wait, I have to try to remember here. So Fireball comes in. There's Bandit. That's 1. Barrel is 2. And then Inferno Dragon's 3. Because I had thought when both players had Fireball that they were just going to try to Fireball cycle their way to the finish. And then Ram Rider comes in, and that's 4. So Samuel has Fireball in his hand. And like I said, I thought they were going to cycle Fireball the rest of the way just because they could. We saw the Magic Archer come right here, and once Jupiter King dropped this Fireball, I thought, oh, okay, well, I mean, just makes sense. Just keep fireballing, and that's the finish line because they're essentially even, right? Well, this game happened in August when Supercell made the changes to the spells, and all the spells got changed. They got lowered, and I think this was hopefully it was an answer to some of the cycles like 2.6 Hog and Ice Bow that you could just cycle spells all day and pretty much that's it. So again, Samuel has Fireball in his hand. He hasn't used it since he cleared this area right here about 30 seconds ago. So he's trying to win it with Ram Rider, which makes sense. I mean, he could have just continued to cycle, but I think the better play was to go with Ram Rider and make sure that, if he gets one charge, it's over. There's 173. I thought Fireball was coming right now. And you see that emote right here. And I'll explain why I think that emote got used. Because Jupiter King uses Fireball and RG comes in. There is 173 damage, or 173 health left on the tower. If we look at the stats of the changes, this is from the game itself and Royale API, we can see the new Fireball damage is 172. So Jupiter King essentially would have won with 1 HP left on the tower because Samuel didn't have another spell other than, Barrel is technically a spell according to the game, but he didn't have like a log, he didn't have zap. He had only Fireball, and if he dropped the Fireball on the board, it would have only taken it down to 1 HP. And so when he used that emote, I think that's why he used that emote, was because he knew he was 1 HP away from getting that, from being able to use the Fireball on that tower. It was incredible. I mean, the defense leading up to the inning was pretty amazing. But wow, I mean, this was just a wild game. Let's take a look at the stats here from the game. Jupiter King only used 2 Fireballs, and Samuel used 4 Fireballs. You would have hoped it would have been 1 more, but 1 HP off. Just unbelievable. I thought both players played, just unbelievably amazing defense. I think we see the power of Fisherman. I was going to say the power of Fireball. It got nerfed, but the power of Fisherman here, just being able to reel in targets that are dangerous to the Princess Tower. We saw so many times in this game where Ram Rider got stopped and other targets weren't able to help Ram Rider out in getting to the tower just because of Fisherman. So what a game. What a game by both players. Jupiter King pulls it out here. So we're going to take a look at another game from the grand finals here later on. I'm going to end the video right here. Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and all those buttons wherever you're watching us, and I'll see you in the next video.